All right, welcome to the show. I am so incredibly excited. I have two of my favorite people in the world on the show today. So long overdue. I have Sarah Falbo and Gabby Mace on the podcast. Guys, what's going on?
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having us, Will.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
It's an honor. It's an honor. I've got Sarah and Gabby. Gabby, you're actually at school right now. How is life going?
I am at school. Life is going well right now. I just started a new clinical rotation in a brand new setting that I'm not familiar with in acute care, and it's been going well. I've only been there for a few days, but just getting the hang of things, and I'm excited to, learn a lot over the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, I'm so pumped. So guys, if you're listening to this and you don't know the story behind Sarah and Gabby and the GRADitude Podcast and what they've got with the SPT Navigation System, guys, will you just give us a little bit of background? Actually, you know what? I'll do this. Sarah, let's start with you. Do you mind just giving us a little bit of background of what you're doing right now and kind of how your version of how you met Gabby and how this started?
My version. Yeah. So long story short, we kind of have to rewind a bit to get back to the origin of GRADitude. And it was after getting denied from 18 PT schools over 2 cycles and waitlisted for the same school 2 years in a row. And, people put their life on hold for school. And that's exactly what I did the first time, not the second time. So I moved to a new state. I got comfortable there, got a new job, passed the exam to be cardiac rehab and all this stuff, and then got a call a couple weeks before classes were going to start. And they said, you're next on the wait list and somebody dropped and you're in. I was like, oh, gotta move again. So I picked up my life again and moved a couple states over. Lived in 3 different states last year, and just the pain of that is what started this. So helping other people not feel alone in that process, helping other people see you're not the only one. There's so many people out there who are there to support you even when you feel down. And so I reached out to Gabby after putting together a podcast plan, and I was like, I need somebody to do this with me. I can't do it alone. Honestly, I had never met Gabby. I had never met anybody that I reached out to. I just reached out to a bunch of SPTs on Instagram, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get on a call with people. And Gabby and I got on a call, and I was like, we're in the right place at the right time, and we're going to do this. And that was last year, October of 2018.
Wow, it's crazy. It's crazy. So for context, Sarah, where you're in PT school right now, what year are you at in PT school?
So this is now my 2nd year.
Okay, so your 2nd year of PT school. This was, October of last year. So you were like a couple months into PT school.
So I actually started PT school the end of August. So this was 1 week in when I messaged Gabby, and we planned details and stuff from there before the launch date, which was October 10th.
Man, wait, so I don't even know this because Gabby, I want to get into your side of the story too, because we got to fact check here and make sure all this is accurate. But so Sarah, you had known you were gonna start a podcast. I don't even think I know this background. So for context, Sarah and Gabby and I are all in a coaching program with the one and only Greg Todd, who's one of our favorite people on the planet. And so I've gotten to know Gabby and Sarah very well. But Sarah, I don't even think I know this part. What made you even want to start a podcast? I don't even know if I know this story.
Yeah, so it's honestly just from all of that, the struggle bus of getting into PT school and the struggle of feeling so isolated through it all. And hearing different podcasts like The Nobodies, Duck Legs, Greg Todd. And I was like, if I had heard all of this before it all happened, I would have felt a lot better going through it. I would have felt more confident. I would have felt prepared instead of going into it blind and feeling super, super overwhelmed by all the unknowns.
Yeah. I just think it's so cool. It's amazing how so many things come out of a place of like pain or I don't know, maybe not the most like positive of places, right? Where you're like, it's like, I need to do something, right? It's when we take action. It's not always when you're on cloud nine that you take action, right? It's like that you feel that moment. Thanks for filling us in with that, Sarah. I didn't even know kind of what sparked the beginning of it. All right, Gabby, we got to hear your side of the story. Will you let people know where you're at in school right now? I just gave it away that you're in school, but what year you're at in school, and then how was it from your end? Did Sarah actually text you? Is this true? And how did it play out?
Yes, of course. So currently I am also a second year PT student. And this time last year, actually, let's rewind to September of 2018. I had finished my first semester of school, and with my program, we have our white coat ceremony super early after our first semester to say, you know, we've gone through, and it's like, hooray, you know, you're still in PT school, here's your white coat. So it's a celebration. And that night, you know, after celebrating with friends and family, I check Instagram before I go to bed, and I got a message from someone named Sarah, and it said, "Hey, Gabs, the SPT," literally, because Sarah didn't know whether my name, like if it was Gabs or Gabby, but I thought that was really funny, and just had to throw that in. But yeah, so she was saying like, "Hey, I have this idea to start a podcast for PT students and wanted to know if you're interested." So immediately I was like, yes, you know, I would love to know more information. And she emailed me the information of the podcast idea, and just honestly thinking about it at the time, you know, taking SSPT, I was like, okay, I need to figure out what I want to do, and what, like, who I want to serve, because I knew I wanted to either make videos or start a YouTube page. So I was pretty much like on that track. And then that's when Sarah messaged me. So I knew right away, I was like, this is the best opportunity, and what better way to like do it with another PT student who, although we didn't know each other and didn't meet for months after that, it was the best decision, and it's changed both of our lives today as students.
Gosh, it's so cool. It's so cool to think that just through Instagram that you guys could meet and not even meet each other in, well, I say meet, but like not even meet each other in person, just talk to each other and say, hey, let's start a podcast. I just think it's so cool. And Sarah, did you know her name was Gabby, or did you have a clue, or were we just guessing at that point? Like maybe it was Gabs PT.
I was like, I don't know if she goes by Gabby or Gabs or Gabrielle. I was like, I don't know what her full name is. I don't want to offend anybody. I'm just going to say, hey, and then the Instagram handle.
Pro tip for anyone out there, if you have an Instagram, maybe put your name in the bio. So that way, if someone like Sarah is out there who wants to start a podcast, doesn't feel too nervous to reach out to you because she knows your first name. So just a pro tip there. I'm glad that you still did it and weren't like, oh man, I don't know her name, I can't send a message. I gotta ask though, guys, because like to one, make the decision you're going to start a podcast, regardless of where you are in life, is kind of like, whoa, hey, this is something new. I don't know how to do this. But you guys are also just starting out in these doctorate programs, you know, very stressful, highly, having all of us now gone through our first years, like know how intense it is. What gave you guys the inspiration or to actually like make this a priority when school was so busy, I'm sure? And then two, was there any nervousness or maybe fear that, hey, my program wouldn't look at this very well, or more maybe what other people would think? I think there are a lot of people who are in pre-PT, PT school, even just out of school, who are nervous what other people might think about them or their program. And I think you guys are such an inspiration that, you know, pretty much in your own way, we're just like, I don't care, I'm gonna do it no matter what. Can you guys just walk us through like that first, like what was that first few months like trying to organize this podcast and trying to, you know, were you having to face some inner emotions or conflict of like, should we be doing this? Should we not be doing it? Gabby, I'll start with you. Did any of that happen for you?
100% yes, especially being in it was at the time, second semester of PT school, about to start second semester. And, all of that, it was definitely challenging. But once we sat down and we had a plan in place, like, I think the most exciting part for me was just to interview really inspiring people that we know, who are in our community, other students, and just hearing their stories. And, we always ask our guests, like, what advice do you have for students? And just really connecting with these people. And, they've inspired us, and we know our listeners, like, they reach out to them. And it was really that. And then also, like, working with Sarah, like, I've never done any of this before. I had no podcast editing background, like nothing, not in that tech world. Like, I was going in with this, just knowing let's just say I did not know a lot. And so Sarah, she knew more of the technology side, and, we did have to work through a lot together, but it was just a lot of trial and error. And I was really nervous, just to balance everything. And I also was nervous about what my program, what my classmates were going to say, but they all perceived it as like, oh my gosh, like, how are you doing? The first question was, how are you doing this during school? And it was also more of, what you're doing is really awesome, and I applaud you for it. So really just kind of looking from the outside. But I was a little nervous telling my professors, but once I did, I was like, hey, this is what we're doing. And we actually had 2 of my professors on the podcast.
Yeah.
And that was actually really, really great, and they've never been on a podcast before. So that was also nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, my program, they definitely support us, and it's been great to receive that feedback. But oh yeah, in the first few months, it was so scary. Like, just the fear of it all. Like, are we actually going to go through with this? And especially during the times of midterms and finals, where it's absolutely insane. As you all know, have gone through PT midterms and finals. But the good thing is with us, our schedules are a little different. So if I had a really tough week and Sarah needed to reach out to someone, then we would do that. And that's really what's awesome about our partnership too, is because, if, like, for example, like, Sarah has a really busy week at school for the next week and a half, 2 weeks. And so I'm going to get more stuff done. So it's nice to just trade off and work together. But yeah, those first few months really tested both of us, in mentally, emotionally. Yeah, it was definitely a lot.
Yeah, man. Sarah, how was it for you in that first semester?
Yeah, the first semester on its own, not even considering the podcast, I think for most people is the biggest adjustment period. And I think that's the most challenging part of PT school, is getting used to it.
Yeah.
And it's incredible how people adapt, and we definitely adapted, but definitely made that transition. But it was not easy. I did not do well the first semester. I almost failed out the first semester.
Oh,
and
man.
So going through that, and it wasn't because of the podcast. It wasn't because I was working, doing other work. It wasn't because of whatever other things people want to try to point at and saying, oh, but you're doing this.
Right.
It was because I didn't know how to study. And I had almost 2 years off.
Yeah.
So that transition was incredibly difficult. And that's what really tested us, because if we don't get through PT school, what are we even doing? So after that, it just got way better after that. But the beginning, I think the hardest part of the beginning of the podcast was because our intro episode was actually kind of about our journeys. And after that, it was super easy, because we just asked people questions and listened. So what are we even worried about?
Yeah. I really love that. And Sarah, I guess I'll ask this to you first. I think there are, I don't know. I think there's a lot of maybe fear in the beginning for a lot of people of putting themselves out there, or maybe starting a YouTube channel or a podcast as a student. And I've certainly heard from many people who are professors and in academia who are like, you should just focus on school. And I totally respect that argument. And I think for some people it makes sense, right? And a lot of people aren't even have an interest in something like this. But for somebody who's out there who's maybe has that inkling inside of like, yeah, I kind of want to do this. Like Gabby, right? Gabby, you know, you were saying, yeah, I knew I wanted to start a YouTube channel. I just wasn't sure yet what I was going to do. What would you say to them? And yeah, I guess what advice would you give them? If they're starting out, if they're sitting there, I know you guys help a lot of people with this now who are kind of thinking about it, maybe struggling, but what advice would you give them? And what has it done for you guys? Like, what is actually just putting yourself out there done for you guys in your, in any way? I don't even want to like lead that question, just kind of in any way, what it's done for you.
Oh man, two big questions. So
Yeah.
what it's done for us and what to tell people who kind of want to start this, but are afraid maybe, or are unsure.
Great podcasting question by asking two questions at one time. Yeah.
I would say, what's holding you back from doing what you want to do? I would really think about that and say, are you going to let PT school hold you back? Because if so, you've got 3 more years of doing nothing but school. And that's a sad place to be. And that's not where I could not live in a world like that. I have always done so many things at the same time. If I was just in PT school, I would not enjoy life. And I know for me, this brings like joy. You know, this is a break for us from studying. And if you're out there and you're thinking, oh, is podcasting just going to be one more thing to add to my list of things to do? Try it. See if you really feel that way, or is it a nice break for you and it's a refresher so you can get back and focus more when you do look back at your classwork and try to study for that next midterm coming up.
I love it. If the second part, then since starting the podcast, what doors has it opened for you? I should ask, has it opened doors for you? And if so, what doors has it opened?
Of course, lots of doors. Where to start? So I think simply getting connected to people that you would have never imagined. I would have never imagined Gabby and I would be here talking with you, Will.
Yeah.
When we started this is not what I thought it would have become. I didn't think people would want to talk to us. I just wanted to talk to other people. I just wanted to hear their advice and what they've gone through and stories to help other students feel like connected and part of something bigger. And we have just been able to chat with so many different people and like getting to meet them in person and, you know, hearing, oh, maybe you should do this for your studying for anatomy instead of this. And like those little tidbit pieces of advice that really help the listeners, but also help us get through school, which I did not expect. You know, that's not why we started this. And I don't know, just getting connected to people. I don't even have words for it. It's been incredible.
I love it. Well, to me, and I want to ask the same thing to you, Gabby. I just feel that podcasting has been the coolest way of getting mentorship without ever having to ask someone for mentorship, right? And not just from one person, but from all these different people that you get to essentially have digital coffee with for, you know, however long, 20 minutes, a half an hour. Gabby, I would love to ask you kind of what have been some of your favorite things about starting the podcast that have happened since then. You guys have got to talk to people that I would dream to talk to. Like, I would love to talk to. You guys have talked to Doc Genfit. You guys have had Danny Matei on. You guys have had all these amazing people on. Gabby, what have been some of the highlights for you?
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. And it's like, yeah, you're sitting down having a conversation with whoever it is you're interviewing, and it really is like so special. So I think definitely the connections and being able to, you know, like just know that the people who we're reaching out to, they want to inspire and like actually tell their story so other listeners can hear and have people resonate with them. And just, you know, we would have never known like the big influencers, you know, like Doc Gen Fit, like you said, Danny Matei, physio tutors, like we just reached out to them and said, you know, we have our podcast and we would love to talk about this topic. And we feel like you would be the best to have that conversation with. And always, it was never like, no, I'm not going to do this. Everybody was so receptive, and everybody who we've had on so far has just been amazing. But honestly, the connections, getting to meet people in person, and then, like Sarah said, just the break from studying, because it really is a refresher. And I absolutely love talking to people. Like, even with the patients that I connect with, I just love having that relationship. And it's been absolutely incredible. And my PT school experience would be totally different if we didn't have the podcast. Like, who knows where we would be right now individually. And we probably like would have met in person at some point at a conference, but like, just to think of the massive, you know, impact you can make is crazy. But this whole experience, you know, just thinking about last year and really reflecting on that, it's just wild to see like how many people we've connected with and met in person. So it's been amazing.
It's been so fun to watch. I'm so proud of you guys for number one, the discipline that you guys have. You guys show up consistently, which I think is the hardest thing, right? Like you could easily put this off and say, hey, like life's just too busy. I think it is really cool. Like, you know, someone enjoys it when you do have 9,000 things going on, which I know Sarah is pretty normal for Sarah, but for the rest of us, like that's a lot of stuff going on, but you find a way to just keep going, you know, keep having interviews, keep finding people to talk to and now you've built a community of people who resonate with what you're doing, who follow you guys and love what you guys do. I'm really curious, for somebody who's out there right now, who's, let's say, a PT student, might even be a new grad, who like doesn't feel like they know enough yet. I think it's a pretty common thing, the whole, you know, imposter syndrome. I think we all feel it. Who's thinking, maybe I guess the way I would ask this is, I think there's an initial feel of like, I need to start a YouTube channel and teach what I know. But you guys went the other way, which is kind of the way that I tend to go to, which is to just learn from people and use a platform like this to learn from people. Do you feel like going that way has been more beneficial than just trying to teach what you know already from in the beginning, like starting out just teaching as you were learning? Or did it make more sense for you guys? Was it more natural to just want to interview people and learn from other people? Because I think there's I think this is kind of a sidebar, but I think there are a lot of people who feel like, oh, you know, I need to teach my expertise, like as I'm learning, and teach everything I know. But you guys have found power in interviewing people and learning from people who are a few steps ahead of you. Was that helpful in the beginning? Sarah, I know you joked about, hey, I don't even have to think about it, I can just ask questions. But I think people struggle with that. I guess I'd love to pick your guys' brains on like, how do you help someone decide, should you be doing your own thing where you're the one teaching all the time, or should you have a podcast to interview people?
Yeah, so it's a fine line. Like, how do you decide that? And I think it really comes down to who you're trying to help. And for us, we're trying to help students. We are students. So for us, just talking about what we're going through, like in the beginning, it wasn't going to help a ton of people, like because we were only a week into school. Yeah. So hearing from other people talk about their PT school experiences was massively beneficial, not only to us, but to the listeners. And then we could kind of compile that and have something to say and to help other people, because we've got the opportunity to talk to everyone who's already gone through it, and we are now going through it more. And now we do have weekly episodes. We started, what was that, like winter break after my first semester? We did have weekly episodes where it's just us talking, but we also kept the weekly episodes with a guest, with somebody else. So there wasn't that pressure just for us, like to be the experts, quote unquote, because we're never going to be. And that's the beauty of it.
I love it. I love it. Well, and I think what's so cool is for those who don't know, Gabby and Sarah now have their own program where they're helping people get through their through PT school, and they have an incredible mission that I want them to explain here in a second. I think it's so cool because you just said you don't have to be the expert, and you never feel like you're the expert, but you do know a little bit more than somebody else who's maybe a step or two behind you. And I feel like that's what you guys are doing with your new program. Gabby, do you mind, for people out there listening who might be like, what are these guys doing? What your program is all about and kind of the mission behind it?
Yeah, for sure. So our program is called the SPT Navigation System. And we have a course to specifically, help students who have been accepted to PT school who haven't started, students who may have restarted their PT school program, and that means like they didn't pass their first year and then they're restarting with the next cohort. And first year PT students specifically, if you're in school, we know how easy it can be. So we knew that we wanted to make this program for students like who are about to start or who are in it, and really just helping them navigate through 6 modules that we have. So I'll just like touch on those. So we go through mindset, adjusting to PT school, staying sane, which is time management, and stress management, which we all need.
Huge. Yeah.
It's so huge. Connections, money, and oh my gosh, did I miss one? I was just like thinking it through my head.
That was everything. You just said right there. You got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we know those are all huge points, and can be really big pain points for students. And, that's what our course is about. And just to have this community of SPTs who we want it to be a safe place, and it is such a great community. And so that's our program. But our vision was actually after SSPT Live in May. We were like, okay, that just inspired the heck out of us. Just seeing you and Alex talk and so many others, we were just thinking, this is not quite a year into having the podcast, but we knew right away, we're like, okay, our new vision is to help SPTs get through PT school on their first try without any debt. And that is the goal. And even if you have restarted PT school, to help you get through from where you're starting now all the way through without any debt.
I love it. So first off, do you guys mind telling the name for people who might not know if they want to look up the program? It's the SPT Navigation System. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. SPT Navigation System. Guys, if you're listening to this and you ever hear someone say dream big, just look at Gabby and Sarah. I mean, getting through your first year PT school alone, or not your first year, but getting through PT school on your first try in itself is a huge goal. But then to do it debt-free is taking things to a whole nother level. And these girls are no joke. I should say these young women are no joke. They are not messing around. They have recruited some of the best people to help educate through this. Sarah, what does it mean to you to be running this program, to be able to help people who are in the situation that you were in not too long ago, right? Coming into school, feeling like, hey, it's been 2 years, but I probably still got this. And then you hit that wall of oh my gosh, this is intense. This is a lot of stuff going on. And like you said, it can lead you to a place where it's wow, you waited 2 years almost to maybe not make it through because we weren't prepared. We didn't know everything that we needed to know or how to adjust. What's it meant for you to be working with people and helping them through this process?
Wow, what a loaded question. Oh my gosh. It's incredible. We're all here to help other people. I feel like I really find my purpose in helping others. And that is what this is all about. it's just incredible. It's a great driver and motivator to not stop, because there are people who like we're helping. And if we stop, like, what is the future for those people? What is the future for people who are feeling like this and don't think it's possible to get through school on their first try, don't think it's possible to get through debt free, and then they go through life with all of this debt and this like huge burden and weight on their shoulders to try to get into their dream career, or what they thought was their dream career.
Yeah. So, man, that part alone, when you guys told me that part of your mission, I just was, one, I was a fan no matter what. I was like, this is amazing. Two, I think what's cool is you guys live this. You're not trying to sell or teach something that you don't practice or believe in and are trying to do yourself. I would love to just ask like some simple stuff for people who are listening, who are like, wow, they just described me. Like, I'm about to get into school, or like I've been in school for a year. I think this really applies to people, even if you're in your second and third year, right? I think being aware to these things happens to different people at different times, right? So it's, for me, the whole financial side of things didn't really hit me until my third year. And it was like, hey, oh my gosh, like this student loan bill is coming at some point. Hey man, wake up, you got to figure something out. And it wasn't even on my mind the first 2 years. I just kept thinking, oh, it'll figure itself out. And it wasn't going to figure itself out, right? And you guys are helping people. If someone's stuck right now in PT school, maybe their study habits are off, or maybe they are just feeling super overwhelmed, what have been some tools that have helped you guys, whether that's like certain habits or actual resources that have helped you guys kind of navigate different aspects of getting through your first year and almost, year and a quarter of PT school?
Yeah, I would say one thing we really stress about with studying, it's one of our favorite words, active recall.
Ooh,
and that is so big. And just figuring out, there's so many ways that you can study, but figuring out what works best for you as a student. And we've talked to, the students in our course and other students just to see, okay, what are your study habits, and is there anything new that we didn't know, or something that we can help if someone is struggling and not getting the test grades, getting on that cusp of, am I going to pass this semester? And we all know that's a place where it's the fear of failing and not making it through. So then it's like, okay, what haven't I done? Has it been my organization? Has it been I'm not studying the right way? So there's so many things that come into play, but just being able to figure that out as early as possible. And if you haven't started school, figuring that out before you start your first semester is going to be so beneficial, because, this is something that we are so passionate about. We want students to succeed. Like we're in it as well. And, we want everybody to know, like, you can make it through. There's just things you may have to tweak or something that you may not know about. And so we're giving those resources and compiling from all of the guests that we've had on the podcast, and even, talking with students and other like PTs on social media. And it's just the culmination of everything to really giving the best resources out there.
Yeah, I love it. Sarah, how about you? What were some things or resources that helped you get through so far your journey in PT school?
I would have to say there are three main things. The biggest thing is understanding that PT school is not my sole identity, and that going into it, like, I am not just a student, like, I'm Sarah, I still have the rest of my life. I still have other things going on, and I couldn't let all of that go, because then what happens if PT school isn't there? Like, what's left of you? Yeah. And I think that kind of hit me after midterms, and I actually thought, like, what if PT school isn't here? What if I'm not going to be here next semester? Like, who am I then? Yeah. And I think that's a really hard pill for people to swallow. Yeah. If they put all their eggs into this one basket and then it can be so overwhelming to have to restart, or even see other people restart, which is what happened to me. Like 5 of my very close classmates did not make it through after the first semester. And that was really hard to like see how that changed their life. And I think that could help so many people. Just realizing that you are more, like, you are you. It sounds so silly, but like, you are more than just a PT student. And the second thing, going into the second semester, I finally started taking care of myself again, instead of having that constant like study guilt and feeling like, if I'm not studying, what am I doing with my life? And I worked out. That's as simple as that. It sounds so silly, but like, I trained for triathlons again, and it was great. It felt amazing getting back to it, and I was actually able to focus. And you don't have to train for triathlon to focus better in class. You just walk around, get your 150 minutes of recommended moderate intensity aerobic exercise every week, and you would be amazed at how that helps you feel better and makes school so much more enjoyable. I said there were 3 things. What's the last thing? Oh, last thing. I use Headspace a lot. So I know many of you may use this with patients or like in a pro bono clinic. I know Gabby uses Calm, very similar. 5 minutes in the morning, maybe 10, depending on how much time I have left in the morning before got to run out the door. But making those just couple minutes of quiet and like recentering and feeling organized and planned out for the day, like having your priorities straight for the day, because you had your 5 minutes or 10 minutes of just sitting there and calming yourself.
Yeah, I love it. What great just life advice in general, right? You know, take care of yourself. You know, find quiet time for yourself. Just and find your worth beyond just the things that you're doing, right? Such awesome life advice in general. For Sarah, anyone who's wondering, who's like, Headspace, what does that mean? Do you mind just sharing what Headspace is for people?
Yeah, it's a meditation app, just like Calm. Both of them are great. I use Headspace. Gabby likes Calm. We talk about this all the time. They're both great. Okay, whichever one you want to use. Same basic concept. It's a guided meditation, and I actually use it for sleeping as well. They have like some sleep casts and stuff like that you could put on. You could sleep to the ocean in the background, even if you're in the middle of Pennsylvania and there's no ocean around.
Well, I'm glad that you were very diplomatic about that, because I'm trying to get a sponsorship from both Calm and Headspace. So we need to keep it very PC. I appreciate that, guys. No, that's awesome. Guys, where do you see the future of GRADitude going? Where do you see the future of the SPT Navigation System? I know it might be a loaded question, but where do you guys see it going in the future? Is this something that, like, when you guys graduate from school, like, it's over? Do you see it keeping on going? Have you guys thought that far? Yeah. Any thoughts on where the future is going?
Yeah, so we've actually had this question come up. Excuse me. We've actually had this question come up more often. And when we first heard it, and I believe it was at CSM, Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, it may have been earlier, but just saying, you know, are you going to continue this after school? And we really were like, well, yes, we definitely want to continue it after school. We're not stopping because we know, you know, that so many students go through, and we want to make this like the platform for PT students in school or about to start school. And even when we're graduated and we're practicing clinicians, we still want to make sure that PT students are served and taken care of. And we know that what we have is going to be what's helping students, because we still want to serve our audience even after, you know, we're graduated, because we've gone through it and we still want to make sure, you know, students are taken care of.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think it's, I just look back when I was in school, gosh, I graduated 3 years ago. When I started, I guess it was 5.5 years ago now. And I think back to, I can remember 2 programs being around to help you pass the NPTE, like outside of your school bringing someone in. Maybe we had someone come in for like a Saturday to help us prepare. I mean, but it was like the bare minimum come in. And I can remember 2 programs that were kind of on the internet that you could find at the time. Nothing about how to like navigate PT school itself while you're a student. Certainly nothing about pre-PT when I was around. And now our dear friends, Cases, that's a combination of Joseph and Casey. It's getting late where I'm at. Josie and Josie. Yeah, I'm going to have to give up of Casey and Joseph of Pre-PT Grind. If you guys are not familiar with them and you have anyone in your family or friend group who is wanting to go into PT school, I should definitely get connected with Pre-PT Grind. So cool to see that come about, and to think like for a long time, I was like, man, that's so amazing. But then they get into school and it's like, well, they had this amazing community, and there was, they continue to serve them at a certain level, but their focus is on helping people just get into school. And to think there's this big gap right between getting accepted into school and then passing the NPTE. And now you guys have a program that helps guide people through that process. And I think I think no matter what, even if someone doesn't get let's just say their study habits are good, I think you can benefit just from having a community of people who think like you do, who are interested more in other things. And not everyone fits in PT school. It's only anywhere from 25 to like 100 people at most, depending on where you go to school. It's not a guarantee you're going to fit in with everyone. This just gives you a different community. So I think what you guys are doing is absolutely amazing. To think you're doing it a year out of getting into school is so freaking cool. I'm so jealous of your guys' ambition and how incredible you guys are and the people that you're helping. Guys, Sarah, Gabby, if anyone is out there who's in school right now, or maybe about to get accepted to school and is like, man, I might need some help, or is looking for a community, how can they learn more about the SPT Navigation System? How can they learn more about you guys, and how can they get in touch with you guys?
Oh man, a lot of ways. And I do want to expand on what you said, the gap between pre-PT and NPTE. A lot of people don't know this. And I know many of you out there, like, this is the time around November after midterms where people feel like, maybe I'm not going to make it. And I hope you know the stats are showing about like 7 to 10% of students who start PT school do not finish. And so that's the gap we're trying to close. And you can find us on all the social media. Sadly, people always misspell gratitude like GRADitude, like how it's supposed to be spelled. And we are GRAD. So it's a little different per handle. But if you search GRADitude, the podcast, it will come up on all of them.
Cool. I absolutely love it. Guys, if can they jump in the SPT Navigation System now? Is it closed? If someone's like, hey, this is like the perfect fit, I'm struggling through school right now. Guys, I need help. Can they jump in? Or is it something that opens up only every so often?
Yeah, so we are currently in season 1 of the SPT Navigation System, and we will start season 2 in January of 2020. So if you are interested, reach out to us, and we would love to get to know you more and get you in season 2 starting in January. And that's when our next season will be.
Yeah,
cool.
It is open, so you can absolutely hop in now.
Okay, cool. So guys, if you're listening, you need to go reach out to GRADitude, the podcast, on Instagram, which is with the D, GRADitude. Sarah, Gabby, if let's just say somehow someone can't spell that right, how can they reach out to you guys individually? Can they find you guys somewhere on Facebook, on Instagram, if they need to reach out to you guys?
Yes, that too.
Okay.
So my Instagram is Gabbs, the SPT.
I should have known. I should have known that one from before. I should have known that one from before.
It's okay.
And her name is Gabby.
Yes.
And mine is Sarah Ashley SPT on Instagram. And that's where, if you reach out there, I'll respond a lot faster than if you try to find me on Facebook.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm so proud of you as a friend, just absolutely in awe of what you guys have accomplished and what you guys are doing, and the amount of people that you're affecting and the amount of people that you're helping. It's an area that definitely is underserved, that needs help. I think it's something we don't talk enough about, of the people who struggle and early on in their schooling career. I think what you guys teach applies to so beyond just PT as well. I know that's who we're serving now, but what you guys are doing is so tremendous for people. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for having us on. It was such a pleasure, and we were so excited to chat with you, and we're excited for what's to come in the future.
Me too. I am so honored that you guys would come on. Now that you guys are like famous and have busy lives and stuff, trying to catch you guys on your off time. Just thank you guys so much. And guys, if you're listening to this episode, please reach out to, if you feel like you need help right now, if you're about to get into school, if you're in the middle of school and you're struggling, if you're feeling like, man, I need help, please reach out to GRADitude, the podcast, on Instagram. Reach out to Gabby or reach out to Sarah. They're absolutely two of the best people on the planet that you'll ever meet. Just so kind-hearted, so caring. And as always, guys, it's your body. Know it.